Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today it's going to be another fix-it video. Another video where I've bought something faulty cheaply on eBay and I do my best to fix it using very limited tools and also limited skill as well. So in here I believe I have two toys that was originally designed in the 1979 I think it was, and it was mega expensive when it first all came out, so most people couldn't afford them. And then it was re-released again in 2010. Haha, here we go. Right, so this is the re-released one. And it is something called a Big Trak. Now, if any of you lot are like, 30 or in your 30s or 40s, you will probably know this. If you're younger, you might not know this. And you might think it's a bit of a rubbish toy if you're younger than that. But when this came out in 1979, it was an amazing toy for back then. So basically what it isn't like a remote control or a radio control car. It's a programmable car. So what you do is you put your inputs into here and then it will do what you tell it to do. Now I've never used one of these before. I've obviously never taken apart one. I've never held one before. When I was younger, none of my friends had these because they were just so expensive. This is the re-release one from 2010, because often what you find is popular toys that were unaffordable when you were younger often get re-released 20 to 30 years later, because let's say if an 8-year-old really wanted this, when that 8-year-old gets into his like 30s and 40s, they have the money then to buy the toys that they originally wanted so bad when they were a kid. So this is a re-release one that came out in 2010. Apparently this is faulty. And then in here there should be another two of them. And one of them should be the original one. So I'll show you the listing in a few minutes when I've unboxed it. So we're going to have another 2010 one that's supposed to be working. So that's going to be useful because it will make it easier for me to find the faulty one that I've just unpacked. And more importantly, we've got an original one, because that's really what I'm after, the original one, not the copy. Oh wow. Oh, look at that. I can see the box. Now that's going to mean so much to people in their late 30s and 40s. So again, that must be the re-release one. And this one is the original, so it's nice to have it in its box, even though the box is quite battered. Vroom vroom, look at that. Right, okay, so, I mean, that is good, that is still boxed. That's obviously been in somebody's attic for many, many years. Right, okay, so, let's pop them out of here. I want to be gentle with it, because although the box is battered, it is probably still worth something to a collector. Ah, look at that. Oh, that's amazing. Right, okay, so it's supposed to have some kind of blue light up here. It's supposed to be some kind of like laser or something like that. That's where you put your little 9-volt battery in. And it should take the massive batteries, the D-cell batteries. So they're going to be the huge batteries. I can see there's a lot of rust. Is that rust down there, or is that supposed to be copper? Not too sure. It does look a little bit rusty, doesn't it? Maybe it's supposed to be like that. Maybe that one's copper. I'm not too sure. Hopefully it's rust. Maybe that's why it's faulty. It might be just a bad contact down there. Right, let me show you the listing and what I paid for them. This one looks in particularly good condition. So obviously this one is the working one. So I have to make sure I don't get them mixed up. There we go, that's kind of clean, isn't it? That looks a good one there. Right, let me show you the eBay listing and then we'll find out what's wrong with them. Okay, so for the 2010 model, the faulty one over here, I paid £2.99 plus £3.95 postage, so that's £6.94, and it just says on it, it's got plenty of pictures and stuff, and it just says, here we have a Big Trak. I'm selling this as spares or repair. I've put batteries in the keypad, makes noises, etc., but won't move. I may be pressing something wrong. It's in reasonable condition overall. Few stickers and marks. please see pictures. What you see is what you receive, no returns. Obviously that's spares and repair. And now let me show you the more expensive ones over here, because obviously that's an original. Right, okay, so with this one here I paid £20 plus £9.80 postage, so £29.80 in total, and it says Big Trak Toys, Big Trak Toys MB old and new versions. So you've got the original one and 2010, and with this one here it says 2 Big Trak toys are shown, older and newer version is shown, both boxed. The older version doesn't work, so may be able to be fixed or ideal for spares. The newer version works fine, bargain priced. And then just goes on a little bit about how they've received bad feedback in the past, but I looked at the feedback and it looks just fine. So to me these are complete honest toys, and hopefully they're going to be genuine faults. I don't think they would have been taken apart many times before. I can already see on the remember I said about this old one here that it looked like it was corroded, but I wasn't sure if it was copper or not. If you have a look here, there's a 3.5mm jack. I think this was going to be for an accessory to plug into that maybe they never released. You could also get a trailer for this as well, and also a can holder. The idea was that in the trailer you would put something in it. So in the advert they had an apple, and then the little boy programmed this around the place to go to his dad, and then the trailer would dump the apple on the floor. But anyway, if you have a look here, can you see it is corroded? So this has probably been stored maybe up in an attic where there's a lot of, you know, like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and it's going to build up a bit of condensation. So hopefully with this one it might be as simple as cleaning up the contacts. Right, okay, I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to start on the old one first, and just to see if we can put some batteries in and see if we can find out what's wrong with it. Okay, let's start by putting batteries in this one here. So remember, this is the original one now, so let's say if this is from 79, you're going to be looking at something which is 39 years old. So if it was from the 80s, you're still looking at something that is well in its 30s now, so it's got a fair bit of age to it. The plastics remind me of a Star Wars toy, so it hasn't really discoloured much. It looks pretty good quality. People always tell you that years ago things were built to last. And in a lot of respects that is true. Right, okay, it doesn't tell me which way to put these in. So, oh, there we go, plus, minus, plus. Right, so there's pluses, minuses, pluses and minuses. So that is definitely a contact down there, so that could be why. Plus, minus, plus, and a minus. Right, there we go. Right, okay. Right, I don't even know what to do with this thing. Right, well, there's certainly nothing happening there. Oh. Did it make a noise? Oh, yes. Don't know what CM means. Touchpad here isn't doing anything. Oh, it is doing something. Hold on now. Right, let's go 1, forward, go. No. Not sure if it's supposed to beep when you hit these buttons here. I presume they're supposed to beep. Right, I think what I have to do to begin with is work out if the power for this, if the power from this is coming from the 9-volt battery or from the D cells underneath. So just make sure there's only, right, there's only one switch, so that's obviously off, and that's on. So I'm going to pop out the D cells and then see what, see if it's still making those noises. Right, it doesn't appear to be doing anything. Now it's doing something. Doesn't seem to like the go button though. Maybe it's a faulty keypad. Here we go. Right, it's waking up now. Right, so we're getting there. Well, it's a little bit geriatric, but it's trying. Right, now it's trying to turn. Oh, now we're getting it. Right, well, it's definitely getting stronger. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up that contact in the battery compartment, and then do you know what? I think I'm going to take it apart, see how it works, and then just try to clean everything up. Maybe there's kind of like a bit of corrosion or something under this keypad here, and yeah, maybe it will behave itself better after I do that. So let's take all the batteries out of it. Screws have corrosion on them. Right, okay, let's take this thing apart. Right, so it looks like there's motors either side here, one for one wheel, one for the other, and it's only the middle wheels that actually work, so the rest are just freewheeling. I don't want to break this after it's been intact for all these years. Right, so that's all held on by the wires which go through to the top, so I'm going to have to somehow get to the top. I can see screws under here, so let me get a long thin screwdriver so I can get in there. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get to them all from here so I won't have to take the wheels off. I like taking apart older toys because they just seem it's like you can get your head round them more, and I don't know whether that's just because I'm more used to taking stuff apart from years ago, or whether everything's so complicated now that it's hard to get your head round. And obviously complicated is a good thing, because it means toys nowadays do so much more than they did years ago. Okay, that's 6 screws out. Okay, it's starting to come apart. Looks like it's held on at the front here. Don't know whether there's any hidden screws anywhere. Maybe it just unclips out like that. Okay, so the on and off switch is out. Looks like it separates from here. I wonder, does this grey thing come out separately? Maybe that's clipped into place. There we go. I really don't want to break it. Ha ha ha, right, okay, come on. There we go, excellent. Oh, attached by some wires, that 3.5mm jack. Now, will they unclip? No, they're all soldered in. I wonder how you get this out. Right, so it looks like there's a little a nut holding that in. So to get to the nut, I'm going to have to take off this grey thing. But now from underneath I can see how the grey thing's attached. You can see it's just these things here. So now I can just do that without worrying about breaking them. So the good thing about doing this is that I can give everything a clean, as well as hopefully find out what's wrong with it. Because it's much easier to clean now when it's apart. Obviously I've got to be careful with the stickers. So now you see I can just undo this little bolt here. Sorry, nuts, and then that will come undone. Let me get some pliers. There we go, you can see all the rust on that. It wasn't like that originally. Look at the underneath of it. Right, so this is good. This is all coming apart. This is coming apart well. Right, okay, so that's the little 9-volt battery there. Oh, okay, so that's just the keypad there, just resting on the cardboard. Everything's really clean. The cardboard, there's no dampness has ever been on that. That looks good. So really, that should be working fine. So all there is just 2 little contacts there, and when you press them, it just forces them together and makes the circuit. So that's all that is. So that all looks good. Right, they're the wires for all the batteries. Goes into there, on and off switch. Now I should be able to unclip this here. So this is for the motors down there, isn't it? And I should be able to pull these out here as well, but I need to make a note of the colour because I don't know what goes where. I presume right, they're down to the motors, so if I put those on the wrong way, the motors are going to go the wrong way. So I need to just scribble down a bit of paper what colour wires they are. So I'm just going to do a bird's eye view from the top. It's always useful to write things down or take a picture, because the thing is, once I pull them out, you'd be amazed at how quick you forget where they should have gone. There we go, so they're just like a male and a female, so the male's on the board and that female just fits onto it. Now the good thing about this is, because everything's just like soldered on like through the board, if you had to replace, well, maybe not the chips, maybe they don't exist anymore, but with the resistors and stuff, you would be able to get the resistors for that, and they'd be easy to replace. Right, so I'm going to pull those wires through, and those wires through. Right, okay, so we're getting there now. Actually quite simple. We've got a speaker at the front up here, you can just see the speaker just in there. And that's the holes right underneath. And they just go onto the board here via those black connectors. These two here. Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look here. Wonder if it's worth having a look in here, see if we can clean anything up. I've managed to cut my thumb in the process of taking it apart. Let's have a look in this little, let's call it a gearbox, or the motor housing. These screws are really rusty, but luckily it's just the heads, so they're not weakened or anything, it's just surface rust. Just going to leave that screw there because that one's a little bit different. Oh, that's interesting, look. Right, we've got a couple of, what would they be for now? Obviously they're not lights, it must be some kind of receiver and transmitter. God, they look really rusty, really rusty. So, I presume, what would that be for? That must be to tell it how many, you know, let's call it steps. So for example, if you wanted to go 5 steps forward, this much must count what 5 steps are, and then for example turn right, and then it must count again what 3 or 4 steps are. I presume that's what that must be for. So that definitely looks like it's had better days. If you look, can you see there's a lot of corrosion on the legs? But just because they're corroded on the outside, it doesn't mean they're actually affected on the inside. So we won't worry about that just yet. How easy this is to come apart. So we have to line up the holes here. I'm thinking it's probably because of the rust on here that it's not popping out. And if I get it out, what's the chance of me getting it back together, or will I damage it in the process? So there's definitely 2, one for either side. You can see that lot of gears are moving for that side, and on this side you can see that not there. That one does sound more noisy on this side than this side. Definitely noisier this side. Would be nice to get inside it just to see if we can clean it up at all. It is coming, because I can see that's getting less and less and this gap's widening here. Right, okay, I want to try to be careful because I need to find out where these things go. Be careful with those motor connectors as well, because they feel very weak. I didn't undo the motor ones here. What's interesting, there's magnets here as well. Can you see a magnet there and a magnet there? So would they stick together, or are they repelling each other? Because they're on both different sides and they're attached to the motor. Right, it is the motor that's stopping this from coming apart. So I'm just going to try to lever off that little gear that's attached to the motor, and that might allow me then to pull them apart. Yeah, here we go. Right, that's that one, and I might not need to do that one. Here we go, nearly. Come on. There we go, excellent. Right, that's good because it didn't fall apart on me. So this attaches to the motor. You can see the motor's here. And it's got a magnet on it, so let's see if this is repelling this one or attracting. No, this is attracting. Don't know why they would need magnets here. Is it so they didn't have to have two lots of this? So that's only getting measured on here via these, must be via these holes. So each one of these holes must be like one movement. You know, when it comes to here, if you were to type in forward 8, maybe it counts 8 holes. I presume that's what it's for. But it's lovely, it's actually working nice and smooth when we're here like that. Obviously because it's not on a motor. Let's see if this motor's free. It's not brilliant, but it spins free enough. But it isn't really smooth. Maybe it never was. I'll do it for a while just to see if I can work it loose a bit. I don't want to pour anything in there because I'm not sure if you can oil motors or use WD-40 on them. I really don't know. Well, it all looks okay, and it doesn't look like there was ever any grease in there. I wonder whether it would have been greased originally, or maybe they were worried about if grease went up on this, it would stop this from working. So it doesn't look like there was ever any grease in this. It's interesting that there's also holes in that gear over there. Can you see the white one over there? I'm not sure if they're supposed to line up with here or not. But I doubt it, because it looks like with this one here it just sits and it does that, doesn't it? So it's definitely looking at those holes. Well, I think I'm going to put this back together because as far as I can see, it all seems to be smooth enough. Right, okay. Looks like there's a little bit of adjustment on this as well. Can you see there? You can adjust it up and down. So I'm going to try to put it back. I can see the corrosion where the tool, the screw was before, so I'm going to try to keep it in the same place. But maybe if it's not working properly, I can then adjust it up a little bit. Yeah, this side is definitely a lot noisier. And I think it's coming from the magnets down there, the way the magnets are stuck together, so they're stuck to each other, you see. And when I spin this side... Okay, well that's noisy now. Yeah, not sure if it is supposed to be that noisy or not. Right, let's, I think I'm going to put it back together. Well, I'm going to put power into it again. Well, actually I need to clean up that first, and I need to clean up the battery compartment. Before before I put it back together, I'll take it all apart just to make sure everything looks okay, and then I'll worry about how it all goes back together and whether it's working right or not. Oh, actually, my mistake. The yellow leads are for the light at the front, and the black leads go off to the speaker. And if you just have a look just in there, can you just see it's a little screw-in light bulb? And if you can see that, let me get my torch, shine it in. I wonder if the light's still working or not. I'd like to check that. Can you see there? Little bulb there at the top. So that's what the little blue light is. So I suppose the maybe LEDs weren't that common back then. I don't know. So really, I'd like to be able to take this front section off, which I can't because it's all moulded. But this top bit here must come undone. Oh, there's 2 screws underneath here. I can see that there's 2 pillars here, so there must be screws in there. You see those pillars there? So there must be screws under these bits. Yeah. Right, okay, so they just lift out. Oh, I broke a little bit of the plastic. Right, how am I going to stop that from happening here? Maybe do it all the way round. There we go. They're just like a push fit in there anyway. That's pretty good now, so we've completely dismantled it. So now with this front off, it'd be easier to put back together, because remember I had to kind of snap it backwards to get it out. Here we go. Right, let's check out this light, see if this is working. Well, I can still see the filament going between the prongs there. Put it up against some white paper. There you go, you can see. .2 volts, 0.25 amps. So let's just do a continuity to make sure the bulb's working. So with this, we're going to put one on the outer bit and then one on the middle, and we should have continuity, which we have. So we know now the bulb itself is okay. So I'm going to screw that back in. And now if I go between these prongs here, it should tell me if the wires and the bulb holder's okay. There we go. So that's fine, so I don't need to touch any of that. Let's have a look at the underneath of this circuit board. Ah, see, that's nice now. Can you see there? If you ever had to solder on that, you'd have no problem. You've got plenty of room. The old ribbon cable connector at the back. Don't actually know how that works, whether they're just forced in or not. Oh, I think what happens is you have to undo these little tabs at the top here to lift them up and then pull that out. But hopefully hopefully it's going to be working okay. If it's not, it might have oxidized a bit there, so maybe I will have to take them off and just to line them up a bit better. In fact, maybe I'll do that anyway, because we did have a slight problem with it, didn't we? So I'm just going to lift the tabs up there. Vertical, and then they should just there we go. Can you see now? It's just levering out there, so it's just pressure that's keeping that down. So just like a modern day ribbon connector, but this one is just going through the board and it's just pinched round a bit. There we go. Okay, so you can see the oxidization, I think that's the word for it, between here and here. Difference. So these must be just little copper tracks. And I suppose if these are dirty, they're not going to make a good contact. Good news is on the actual board itself, it looks lovely and clean. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a tissue and I'm just going to wipe up. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give everything a clean now. I'm going to wipe up the tracks here, and I'm also going to wipe up this this one here, see if I can get it a bit cleaner, and hopefully then it might start working like it should do. Right, I'm just going to get some cleaning stuff. Okay, so I've just got some simple cleaning stuff, so I don't need to film this. I'll just fast forward through it. The only bit I'm going to show is the cleaning off this here. See if anything comes off it. Don't want to rub too hard because I might end up wearing through them. I'm only interested in the end bits anyway. I suppose really I should be using some sort of rubbing alcohol or something, but you can definitely see a little bit there. Well, I don't know if you can see, but it's. I just want to take off the kind of top layer where it oxidizes. I know I'm rubbing on the right side as well because I can feel the little ridges on the tracks. But it shows you, so this is what ribbon cables were like years ago. Look how spread apart they are compared to what we have nowadays. So nowadays we'd probably have like 200 or more tracks in something that big. And here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just that end one I'm a little bit worried about because there's not, it looks very dirty. Just going to scrape it ever so lightly. There we go, I'm getting a little bit more off the underneath of it now. Do the same on this end one here. Right, I think that will do me, so now I'm just going to give everything a clean up. Right, for these bits, because they haven't got any stickers on, I'm actually going to wash them. Right, okay, I'm just testing that rusty battery contact, and it is actually making contact, so that's good. It's on the black wire. Yeah, and I'm going right onto the back of the circuit board. So all I've done is I haven't cleaned it completely because I'm not going to be able to, and maybe it was always a slightly different metal anyway, but what I've done is I've just scraped the little pin there that's going to make the contact, because it doesn't matter about this. As long as that pin's clean, then the signal's going to flow through the rest of it anyway. So what I've done is, as you can see from the fast forwarded video, I have completely taken everything out of it, and I really have given it a very good clean. Look at it now. It's amazing how well it's held up, and it's amazing how white it still is. It hasn't really been that discoloured. So I've given it all a real good going over everywhere. Took the bits out and washed them that I could. The bits with the stickers I just had to wipe clean. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it all back together and see if it is going to work okay or not. And also I'll then have to see if I can get some online instructions just to find out how this thing actually works. Bend those pins back over now. Keep pressure on the back when I do it so it's nice and tight. So I'm just pushing in that metal kind of cage at the back. Right, so that looks like it's in nice and secure. An easy way to clean is just to use a little flathead screwdriver, a relatively blunt one, and then so you don't scratch everything up, and then you can use it to get into all the grooves. Plug in all the connectors again, and it's nice here because in case you were confused about which side to put it on, you can just see on the board there it just says yellow or YEL and also BLK for black, and if you have a look here, yellow and black, so I know now to put it on that way round, black to black, yellow to yellow. And with these I have to follow the diagram, remember blue at the top, red at the bottom, and then red and blue. So blue at the top. In case you're interested, you can have a close look at the circuit board now, at the chips and stuff. Now it probably would be sensible to test it all before I fully put it back together, but I'm thinking that all the parts up here, I mean I heard the speaker working, I know that the light's working, so I should be able to get to the rest of it, you know, from here. So maybe I should leave it like that for the moment, test it, and then I can do the final connecting up. Actually, do you know what? It's just as easy for me to put all the screws in, because otherwise it's just going to be flapping around everywhere. Right, let's see if it's any better or if it's worse or what. Right, but that doesn't seem right, it just seemed to go and go and go. Right, okay. I am going to read up on this because it's probably something very simple and I don't know what I'm doing. Right, okay, so I've read a PDF of the instructions and it takes a bit of time to get your head round, but once you got it round, it is actually quite logical. So basically, it will only do what we input it to do. So if we wanted to go forward, we're going to press the forward button and then the amount of lengths we want it to go. So for example, a length is roughly the size of Bigtrak, give or take so many centimetres. And if we just wanted to go one length forward, we're just going to press it once. So it will remember the previous programming. So we always have to do CM, which is clear memory. Sorry, turn it on. Clear memory. And it will make that noise. And then we're just going to go forward, and how many? 1, and then press go, and it should just go forward one amount. Okay, now in that instance it went quite fast. Let's just try that again. So let's press clear memory, forward 1. Yeah, so it's going a lot further than it should do, and also it's sometimes it needs a helping hand as well. So now let's say if we just wanted it to turn, like when it's turning, it's the same as a clock. So if you were to do left, you would then have to do 15 to do a right angle. You would do 30 to make it come back on itself, because it's the same as a clock, and all the way around would be 60. So for example, if I was to clear memory, and then if I was to do left, 15, go, it should turn to the left, which it's not doing. Clear memory, let's do forward 1, and then that way to the right 15, go. So it's not doing what it should be doing. Let's do test. See, and that button's not working now, but what I noticed when I was just mucking about with it earlier is when I lean it forward here, now listen. It's still not doing it, hold on now. There we go. See, that's the test, but I didn't press go unless my thumb did it by accident. So let's turn it off, turn it on. I think it's 2 forward, 2 back, and then it fires the beam. Or 2 forward, fires the beam, then 2 back. See, look, it's not doing it now. So we're on. But yet the other buttons, so that's not working now either. So it's very hit and miss, you see. So I'm definitely going to have to take this apart. I think I'm going to concentrate on the battery compartment, because I noticed earlier when I leant it forward like this, then it seemed to fire the phaeton well at the front, or the phaser, or whatever it's called. You see, right now it's completely dead, it's not doing anything. Right, so I'm going to concentrate on this battery compartment. What I didn't do before is I didn't actually clean up this side of it, so I'm just going to try to scrape just the points here, and also the points here as well. Oh, that sounds much stronger. Perfect, now it should come back. Well, it should pause for 3 or 4 seconds, then come back. Hey, look at that. Right, so it was bad contacts on the battery, but on the actual lid I was concentrating on the other one. Now let's clear memory. Let's do left, 15. Right, still doesn't like that though. Try that again. Clear memory. Let me do left, 30. Definitely sounds nice and strong. So it needed that little helping hand again, didn't it? Let's clear it. Let's just do 15 this time. Left, 15. Go. So it needs that little push at the beginning. Let's try it to the right. Right, okay. Now it did say depending on the surface, it might not be perfect. You have to learn what it is. So did you see there? It wasn't quite 50. It wasn't quite a right angle. So let's do that one, and now let's do it 80. And that's a little bit too much. So maybe now it would have to be 70. There you go. Right, okay. So it is working. It just needs that initial push to get it going. And I think that's because, do you remember I said it seemed kind of stiff on the wheel? So I think it just needs to be loosened up for a little while, and then hopefully it might start working properly. Because remember, these motors and everything haven't been used in probably the last 20 years. Let's go. Let's do a little bit of programming now. So clear memory. Let's see if the laser thing works. So we've got to do this button here. This one. So clear memory. That one. Let's see if the light works. Let's do it 4 times. Yeah. Okay, so now clear memory. I'm going to go forward 2. Then I'm going to go right 33. So that should hopefully come back to us. And then I'm going to go shoot 6 times, and then forward 2. See what it does. Okay, that would have worked. It was just on the. It was just on here. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off the camera, and I'm going to keep, you know, trying to loosen up these motors and get it working and working. Hopefully then it won't need that initial push to get it going. And then what I'll do is I'll bring it out into maybe the kitchen or a more open space, and then we can get it to work a bit better rather than trying to do it in here where there's lots of obstacles in the way. And I'm just going to use some wet and dry sandpaper on these contacts here to make them nice and clean. Okay, so I've been playing with it in the kitchen. It's definitely getting better. It still struggles a little bit when it's turning, especially to the right, but it is loosening up. Maybe about 1 in every 3 goes it will go wrong. So if you look at it now, if we turn it on, clear memory, and let's drive to the end, make it turn round, fire me, and then drive back again. So forward 5 lengths, and then we're going to turn to the left around 25, because if I was to do 30, it's actually too much on this floor because it's too slippery. So turn 25, we're going to fire 3 times, and then we're going to go forward 5, and hopefully that should come back to me. Still really noisy. Right, okay, so that needed to go a little bit more than 25, didn't it? So let's do it again. Let's clear memory. Let's go forward 5, to the left, let's do 27, and then let's fire 5 times, and then we're going to go forward, let's do forward 2, and then we will do another couple of fires, and then we will go back 1, and then forward 4, and hopefully that will come back to here. there we go. So 27 was a bit too much, but nearly there. Right, okay, let's clear memory. Now we're going to try and do it to the right. Now it definitely fails to the right more. So we're going to go, let's start over here this time. And let's go clear memory, forward 2, to the right, let's do about 13. And then we're going to go forward 1. And then we're going to go to the left, 14. And then we're going to go forward 1. Then we're going to go to the right, about 26. We're going to fire twice and then forward, I'm not sure how many times, let's just do 3. See, it's stuck now. There you go, so you can see it's still getting stuck a little bit on the right, but it is loosening up. Right, okay. Now, so let's do forward, shoot, and then turn to the right. So forward, 5, right, 26, shoot, 5 times, and then forward, 5. No, it's got stuck again. So I'm going to do a little bit more work on it, try to get that turning right better, try to loosen it up a bit more, and then hopefully that will be it, job done. Right, okay, it's all working well, apart from this turning right, it's still struggling. So basically what it is when the wheels go forward they're fine, and when they go back they're fine, but when they have to go opposite, even now, can you see the strain that's being put on here? Yeah, and it's too much for the motors, and it just needs an extra little help to spin it. So forward's fine, backwards is fine, but when it comes to turning, it goes left nearly all the time, not every time. But on the right hand one it's really struggling, so I think it's because of that. But yeah, when it's moving it's fine, it's just that initial start. So when it's going it's fine, it's just that initial start to get it going. So I kind of need to work out why that is. I presume it's because of the magnets, I think. Could it be the magnets? Because they're going to have to kind of, the motors have to be strong enough to separate those magnets. So maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking if I was to put a little bit of sellotape or something in between the magnets just to make them easier to separate, maybe that would solve it. As well as that, it's missing its little rubber tracks here. When I looked at the other ones, I noticed they've got little rubber tracks here, which gives it more traction. So they're kind of like a rubber O-ring. So I'm going to take apart the gearbox again. I'm not going to film it because you've already seen me take it apart. And then I'm going to see if I can do anything with those magnets, or work out why it's so hard to break that kind of seal to make it turn. So I've got the gearbox apart again, and this time I'm just cleaning up the magnets. You can see that they're you know, there's a lot of wear on them, so I'm just going to clean off all those bits just in case that was to make a difference. I'm going to do it on both of them as well, and then I'll see how easy it spins just by hand. Right, okay, so I've given them a good clean. Absolutely loads of you know, black carbony stuff came off it. I don't know, I presume just tiny bits of magnet. And now I'm going to, I mean, I presume it goes that way, because that way they repel against each other, so when it spins it's going to find itself that way again. I'll be honest with you, I'm not actually sure why there's magnets on here, because if there's two motors driving, like one motor for one side of the wheels and one motor for the other wheels, so for one track and the other track, I don't understand why they have to be linked by this motor. I don't know why they can't just be two motors independently of each other. I don't know why everything here is linked. I understand why these things are linked here, because obviously it's just easier to do that way when you're making the gearbox, but why have the magnet here? Really don't know what that's for. Obviously it's important, but I can't fathom out in my head what it's for. So if you know that, add it down to the comments, because you're going to help me out and also help other people out as well. She uses some kind of like clutch type thing, but I just don't know. Right, so interestingly enough, it looks like the magnets don't actually touch each other. So if you have a look there, you can see that that side's spinning there, and then that side's spinning there. Now this side does spin a lot better than this side here. It feels more like it's just grating. There's definitely something wrong with that side, because if you listen to that one, it feels quite nice. And this one definitely doesn't, so I'm going to have to really look into what's happening on this side. Right, so with the gearbox apart, I mean it's spinning nicely there, but you can see it doesn't take much for the gears to get apart from each other. So maybe with these holes here, if there's just a tiny bit of wear throughout the years, you know, with it constantly moving around the place, maybe that's what causes these gears just to go, you know, even just a fraction of a millimetre out, and maybe that's why they jam them when they're going back and forth. Because when I'm spinning them like this now, there's very little resistance here. But then as soon as I put the motor on here with that little magnet, then there's a lot of resistance. But yet when I spin the motor by hand, there's no resistance. It feels nice. And even when I put this on it, this spins nice as well. So a little bit confusing. So without that magnet attached, it's lovely and free. Remember, I haven't done the gearbox up here, so there's going to be a bit of movement here. But when I go one way and the other, there's very little resistance at all. Right, okay, it seems to be pretty good right now, so I'm going to do all the screws back up and then see what it's like then. But right now, it seems to be okay. This side is still noisy. There you go, it's jammed again. That's so weird, look at that. Jams up so easy. Right, I'm going to go with the screws. I mean, maybe even when I'm lining that up, maybe even it might make a difference whether it's just a fraction of a millimetre out. So I'm going to try and get it perfect and see what it's like. Right, so I've got all the screws back in now, and the noise is still there, but the resistance has gone. So I don't know whether it's going to come back as when it starts working properly, but it definitely feels different now than when I started. Okay, so we're all back together now and it definitely feels much better. So I'm quite hopeful that this is going to work. So let's just do a quick test here, then I'll take it back into the kitchen. So let's go to clear, right, 30. Yay! Let's do that again. Ah, fantastic. Right, okay, let's do a bit more extreme. Clear that, let's go to left, 60, and then right, 60. Oh, look at that. Right, and I'm going to do it 4 times now. So on top of that, do left 60 and then right 90. Quieter as well. Oh, I'm so happy with that. Right, let's take it into the kitchen, make sure that the other things are working. Okay, so we're in the kitchen. I'm going to leave the lights off so we can see the blue laser at the front a bit better. So let's turn it on. Clear memory. Let's go forward, 5, right, 30, and then forward 5. Definitely a bit quieter. Okay, so let's do it a little bit more than 30 this time. So, clear memory, go forward 5, right, let's do it 35, and let's do some firing. and then forward 5. Okay, so that was a little bit too far that time. Right, let's make it a bit harder for it. So forward 5, right 28. Actually, I'll do forward 5, right 32. Fire 3 times, and then forward 2, fire 4 times. Then I'm going to go left 60. Then I'm going to do right 60. Then I'm going to go forward 2, and then back 3, and then forward 2. Let's see where that, and let's end with 2 fires. Let's see what happens now. Perfect. There we go. As you can see, it is working perfectly, which is pretty amazing considering the age of it. So now I'm going to test out the other two. One of them should be working fine. The other one says it's faulty, but you know what? I reckon it's going to be fine. I think because it's so complicated to work out how to do it, you really do need to read those instructions. And nowadays we're so used to just, you know, something being intuitive that I think it would be quite hard to work out how to do this. So I reckon that other one isn't going to be faulty. I think it's going to be working fine as well. Let's check it out. Right, so this is a faulty one. Let's take this one into the kitchen. Okay, so we're in the kitchen now. Let's turn it on and clear the memory. Now, I presume it's going to be the same as the original one. So forward 5, right 30, forward 5. Let's see if it works. Way! Wow, it's fast. Oh, it's so much smoother than the original one. Okay, well, it seems to be working just fine. So obviously the seller never knew how to operate it, because you know what, it's not very intuitive. It's one of the things you have to read the instructions for. Just notice that there's that isn't on the original, or do you know what, that's probably snapped off my original one. Looks like there's a little light in there. This is where the 3.5mm jack would have gone for the additional accessories that I don't think they ever made. Right, let's do a few turns. So clear memory, 5, 30, let's go forward 1. Let's see if the laser thing works. And then let's go back 1. And we're going to do left, let's do left 60, so it should turn all the way around. Fire 3 times, and then we're going to pause. Each pause is 1/10 of a second, so that should be pause for 2 seconds, and then fire 5 times, and then forward 2. Let's see what happens. Now it's pausing. There we go, this thing's working brilliantly. Right, okay, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So the last thing we have to check is the actual one that's supposed to be working. So hopefully that should be working. Okay, so I've put batteries in this one now, and this looks absolutely immaculate. This was the one that came in its box. Now I did notice on here there's like a 3 selection switch. On the original one it's either on or off, but on these two ones, the 2010 model, you go forward, turn it on, middle is off, and backwards is also on. So back is for if you're using it on carpets, and forward is for smooth floors. So it's something to do with the stall effect or something. Maybe if it's struggling, it will turn itself off so obviously it's going to struggle on carpets more, so maybe it doesn't turn itself off quite so easily on carpet. So let's put it to floor, clear memory, forward 5, right 30, and shoot 3 times, and then forward 5. That's working fine. There we go. Right, so that's all of them. So let's do a quick line up. So forward 5, 30, shoot 3 times, forward 5, and let's do the original. Forward 5. Oh, it sounds so old-fashioned, this one, but I like it. 30, shoot 3 times, forward 5. Right, let's go. Go, go, go. There we go. So I am so happy with that. That was one of the most enjoyable videos I've done in a long time. And if you had to settle for a 2010 model, I mean, in all honesty, apart from the nostalgic reason of liking the original one, they do work probably better and they're a lot quieter. But I'm so happy with this original one. Look how well it turned out in the end. You know, I know I took it apart to give it a good clean. It would be better if I had the black rubbers there, but I haven't. Let's just turn these all off, otherwise they'd be beeping every 30 seconds. Right, so yeah, I'm so happy with that there, and this one came out it just came out brilliantly. It looks really, considering that this is a new one here, it's nearly as good as that one, not quite as shiny, and you can see how much better it looks than this bashed up one here. So this is the original in the middle. So now we've jumped forward to the end of the evening. This has been played with for most of the evening, and as you can see now, there's a slalom course here, and it's my son who's done the programming, and you can see it's all scribbled down here, and he's been making adjustments. So when he gets it wrong, because obviously it's trial and error, then you just keep changing it until you're happy with it. And the good thing is, once you get used to the Big Trak, you can kind of guess the correct amount to do. So as you can see here, we're going to start with left 6, forward 2, left 14, etc., and then go along. So if we do the programming, you might have to turn it on and off again. There we go, so CM to cancel it. Right, so it's going to be right 6, forward 2, left 14, forward 4, right 15, forward 4, left 17, forward 2, left 10, forward 1, left 12, forward 3, right 14, forward 3, left 15, and then you've done the fire. And what we have to do is you have to make sure it starts in the same spot every single time, otherwise of course that's going to change it completely. If you would start a bit forward or back, then it's going to change the overall course. So now if you press go, you'll see it go off, hopefully it will work. And he has done this himself, I know I was the one reading it out. Looking good. And the good thing is, don't be tempted to move the actual obstacles. Make sure you move Big Trak around the obstacles, otherwise you spoil the fun of programming it. Look at that, perfect. Nice. So now, if we had more programs, which we don't because there's only 16, but you would turn it, it'd probably be best to turn it a little bit less then, and then forward to finish off. So now I'm going to jump back to earlier on in the day when I finished fixing these. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. I think I like this so much because it was, it's quite hard to actually get these to turn off in the middle. I like the switch more. It should be all the way down for off and then 2 ones on the way up. But I think the reason I liked it so much is because there's a kind of mixture of mechanical and electrical stuff. For example, when you're taking apart like a Nintendo Switch, It's just all electrical, and most of the time you're thinking, oh, is it just another faulty chip that I'm not going to be able to change? But with this, you can see what's going wrong with it. So you could see that there was corrosion on the battery terminals. Then I had an issue with the gearbox, and I can't remember, was there any other issues with it? There seemed to be a few different things, but and also like cleaning up the pad and everything and taking it all apart. So with this one here, apart from taking this thing off the wheels, I had it completely dismantled and it all went back together fine. So I don't know whether that's because it's just I prefer doing simpler things because I can get my head around it more, or I think I just like it because it's just a bit of a mix, or maybe I just like it because it's nostalgic reasons, because I always wanted one of these when I was young, and unfortunately they were just so expensive for their time. Now, is this relevant in 2018? Well, you know, I just showed it to my son, you know, in between the filming off the videos, and he's 9 now, and yeah, he actually liked it. And I'll tell you the good thing about this, it is slightly educational because it teaches you the basics of programming, because it will only do what you tell it to do. So if you just said, like, you know, like, go forward 5, you know, yeah, you tell it to go forward, you have to tell it how much, and then you have to tell it to rotate. And as an adult, you think that's no big deal. But as a child, you'll then kind of learn in a clock face, because then you know that 30 is going to be going all the way around in itself, the same as 180 degrees, so you could learn a little bit about degrees as well. And you know then that 15 is going to be a right angle, either right or left, and then 60 is all the way around again. So these things make a difference. You take it for granted as an adult because you know it. But I actually think this would be quite useful for children, and they get to learn things, you know. So for example, if you said, you know, put something in the corner of the room, for example, like an empty milk bottle, or, you know, like a can of Coke or something, and you've got to get the Big Trak to hit it. And you might put it, for example, if you've got a big room, you might put it 10 meters away, and then you might put a couple of obstacles in the way. And then the child has to learn to go forward, turn right, turn left, go forward, you know, maybe go just turn 10, you know, 10 on the clocks, maybe 30 degrees, and then forward again, back a bit, and all stuff like that is useful for learning. So I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love this, and I'm so glad I got them from eBay. I think they're a bargain, and I know, like with anything, the novelty will wear off after a while, but I think you will get a bit of use out of this, especially if you've got children and you could set up little obstacle courses and stuff. So yeah, I hope it's come across in the video how much I've liked doing this, because I really have. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it as well, and please subscribe for more trying to fix videos and also how-to videos as well. Take care, bye now.